did that slide didn't go away. How do I quit? Oh, quit sharing the slide. There we go. I quit sharing the slide. All right. So we are recording and I think we're in good shape. Has anybody got any questions, needs, thoughts? We had one person who had signed up to be our potluck reader. I'm sorry, my video keeps disappearing. If you can still hear me, I hope. We had someone who signed up to be our potluck reader tonight. Who might that be? Does anyone? I can look it up. Okay, we don't have to worry about it. Let's get started with Eloy, and then we will take it as it comes. Thank you so much, Eloy, for being here with us tonight.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everyone, for having me here. I think I did this a couple years, like a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, and I had a great time. And yeah, I'm just happy to be asked to come back, which means I didn't do such a bad job last time. So that's always good to hear. So my name is Eloy Ortiz. I work at a community-based organization called Regeneración. We are based in the Pajaro Valley. We have a small little office in the city of Watsonville, and we are a climate justice organization. So what that means is that we are working on projects, on programs, working to do advocacy, education, outreach, just a lot of climate-related work, and really focused on the community of the Pajaro Valley, the residents of the Pajaro Valley, and mostly focused on the marginalized communities who are impacted the most due to climate change, right? So it's farm workers, it's recent immigrants, it's monolingual Spanish speakers, monolingual Mixteco, or I should say indigenous language speakers who are in the Pajaro Valley who have been affected most recently by the flooding in the town of Pajaro, by droughts, by changes in climate, either heat and working out in the fields during the CCU fires. So those are the folks we're mostly focused on. But as we do work to address environmental issues that are impacting those folks, we know that those policies, those programs that we develop are also impacting the the more mainstream, the more working class folks in the area also. So yeah, just a little bit about me. I've been with the organization for about actually on November 1st, it'll be 3 years. So yay. I prior to being at Regeneración, I worked in applied research here I live in Scotts Valley. So I used to do research here with a group called ETR. Went to UCSC for undergrad, so I'm a slug, but I'm also an anteater. I went to UC Irvine for grad school. So I'm just going to share some slides, and I'd really like to think of this more as a conversation. I share these slides all the time in more formal presentations, but since we're here and kind of a learning space, if you have questions during the presentation, please feel free to jump in. I'm going to try not to use technical terms, but I'm hoping you're familiar with issues like greenhouse gases, and why we want to reduce greenhouse gas reduction. And if you're familiar at all with the state of California's cap and trade program, I'm mostly talking about programs that are funded by those monies. All right. So. Present. That's what I want. All right. So Regeneración, Pajaro Valley Climate Action, co-creating, promoting, ensuring implementation of just community-driven climate solutions. Again, Eloy Ortiz. There's my email address in case you'd like to ask any questions later or just want to get a hold of me. So yeah, just introduction, which I've been talking through, and some of our resilience and sustainability programs, some of our projects that are coming up. And we'll also leave a few minutes for questions if you have any about anything I've been talking about. So what does it look like to do sustainability and resilience work on the Central Coast? And for us, what it looks like is creating a lot of partnerships. We recognize that we are a small organization. We were formed in 2016. About a year ago, there was about 3.5 employees. We're now up to 6.5, so we've doubled in size. Um, but even 6.5 employees are not going to solve the climate issues on the Central Coast of California. So it's building a lot of partnerships, and that's what you'll see in these projects that I'm talking about. It's coming out and talking to folks like you. I was having a conversation earlier today about the Pajaro floods, and it's been that was in 2023, so it's been 2.5 years, and there are still impacts. There's a lot of economic impacts. There's mental health impacts that the flood still has on folks in the town of Pajaro. So it is going out and talking to folks like yourselves at programs like this, and making sure that people are aware outside of the Pajaro Valley that uh, climate change has arrived and is affecting the folks there, and it has a lasting impact on that community. So, we really think about climate change and our programs at the kind of nexus of public health, of economics, specifically workforce development, of creating community, right? Equity and justice. One of the reasons why I am attracted to this work and want to do this work and want to do it well for the community. I should say first and foremost, I'm not from Pajaro, the Pajaro Valley. I grew up in San Jose. I did go to UC Santa Cruz, but I've never lived in Watsonville, never lived in the town of Pajaro. But I see kind of an opportunity to really help a community in around environmental justice, around climate justice, which is something I have cared about for a very long time. Um, Let me go forward. What I'm going to talk about mostly is a project that I was actually hired to take on 3 years ago. It's called the Pajaro Valley Transformative Climate Communities Planning Project. And it's a project that we've implemented with the sustainability program of the County of Monterey. It is funded by the California Strategic Growth Council and the Department of Conservation. And the Strategic Growth Council is out of the governor's office and does a lot of good work. And this is a specific program that's, again, funded by the Cap and Trade program, the greenhouse gas, and it's really looking to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in specific communities that have been underinvested in the state of California. We specifically have a planning grant, but there are other grants such as implementation grants where you would actually use millions of dollars to construct projects that would reduce greenhouse gas emissions in specific communities. I think the first community that this program was awarded to was the city of Fresno. It's also been awarded to the city of Stockton, city of Oakland, Pacoima, San Diego, places like communities that have just been underinvested over time. So what we're looking at here, again, if I'm going too quickly, let me know. But what we're looking at here in the red is our planning area. And if some of you are familiar with the area, what we're looking at really is the southern Santa Cruz County and northern Monterey County. So this is a multi-jurisdictional project, which is different from other projects you may see. Usually they take place in one jurisdiction. But what we know about the town of Pajaro is it's about 3,500 people, and it's separated from the city of Watsonville by one river. Students, I should say children from Pajaro, go to school in the city of Watsonville. Um, they go to high school in the city of Watsonville. People from Pajaro go to stores I'm sorry, people from Pajaro go to stores in Watsonville. People from Pajaro go to parks in Watsonville. There's just not a lot of resources for people in Pajaro. And one of the reasons for that is it's built out really. So unless you're looking to buy farmland, it really is built out. So if we're going to invest in resources that will help the residents of Pajaro, then what we really need to do is also include the city of Watsonville, because those communities, even though they're separated by a county jurisdiction, are very close and tied together. So that's the reason why it's a multi-jurisdictional space. The reason why the area to the left, that kind of dog leg to the left, is included in this funky looking planting area is because that is along the Pajaro levee. So one of the things we thought about when we decided on this funky area of focus is that we really want to explore ways to connect people from the Pajaro Valley to the ocean. Has anybody ever traveled along that beach road that's right here above that red line, kind of in the middle of the screen? Has anybody ever traveled? Yeah, Lisa, what was it
Mhm.
like?
Well, I mean, it has it's got a lot of traffic because it heads to it's a lot of state beaches, but it's very potholed and floods frequently, um, and farmland on both sides.
Hmm. So if you were a resident of Watsonville, would you necessarily want to use that road to get to the local beach? No, right?
No, I mean, it's really a poorly maintained road. Yeah.
It is a very poorly maintained road, and if I have time, I'll talk about that a little bit later. But so we wanted to explore with the levee reconstruction, possible walkways, bikeways along the levee to get people out to the ocean. You may, believe it or not, there's a lot of people who live in the Pajaro Valley, who live in Wattsville, Pajaro, who have never been to the local beach. It is just super inaccessible. And for me, that again, that is an equity issue. That is a community issue. That is a justice issue that folks in this town of 50,000 people, it's not a small town, 50,000 people in the city of Watsonville cannot do not have access to their local beaches. So that's the reason for that dog leg over to the left. So over the past 2 years, what we've done is really engage with community, and we've gone out to community events such as the City of Watsonville's Earth Day event. We've hosted our own events. We have this infrequent event we call the Climate Up Hope Fair. They were online for many years, and last year we did an in-person event. And we go out and we talk to people about what are their concerns for their community. And one thing I'll say is we know what we know the big concern for the Watsonville community is the same concern that people have all over the state of California. The number one concern, which is, if I were to ask you about you and maybe your children or family and friends, what is the main concern, economic concern for you all, or the top two? I'm gonna guess it's gonna be housing and jobs, right? So it's the same. It's the same in the city of Watsonville. Um, Housing and jobs. You may know, like, traffic along the one is horrendous around the city of Watsonville. It takes hours to get to. It takes an hour and a half to get to city of Santa Cruz, just 20 miles away in the morning. Hour and a half to get back from Santa Cruz to Watsonville in the evenings. And so that's time spent away from their families. That's time spent in cars. That's time spent emitting greenhouse gases. So in order to not just focus on housing and jobs, we included other topics such as transportation, such as energy costs, such as access to open space, and really asked people about what their opinions were about where they saw issues. And so we did this community engagement process 3 times, and over that time, we came up with a list, but I'm going to back up, a list of issues that community members were focused on. And of course, it's housing, but there was also this idea of sidewalk repair, beautification of the community, more streetlights and safety, pedestrian crossings, community bike resources, so on and so forth. If we're asking people in this community to maybe walk, drive a little bit less, walk a little bit more, then we need to provide safe and healthy alternatives for folks. We can't just be asking them to change their lives, to change the way they interact with their environment without providing the resources to do that in a safe way. So one thing I'll say is that none of this is new. I was looking a few months ago. I was on the County of Monterey website, and I was looking at the emergency management plan, and a lot of this was, a lot of these issues are basic issues that these communities need because of that underinvestment or disinvestment that I was referring to. If you look at the communities in Stockton, communities in Fresno, communities, again, like in Pacoima, who've done this process, who are really looking at greenhouse gas reduction from the community's point of view, the sustainability work from the community's point of view. This is what people are asking for. And it's just the basic needs that any community, like, again, I live in Scotts Valley. It's a beautiful place. It's been invested. All of this is here. Like, we have the safe pedestrian crossings. We have, the beautiful park. We have access to beautiful parks. Everything's maintained really well. But, the communities where we're doing this work are not, don't have that same amount of capital and investment for many reasons. For example, in the town of Pajaro, there's one park for 3,500 people, and one like full-size park with a softball/baseball field, with barbecue, with picnic areas, with benches, with plenty of parking, and then there's a smaller park that's basically the size of a house lot, and that counts as a park. So we did this work with a 10-member community climate coalition, 2 Pajaro residents, 2 City of Watsonville residents, 6 representatives from local community-based organizations. We met for 14 months to talk about issues in the community. This is where this focus on health and safety emerged. And so long story short, we'll be voting on these to come up with recommendations that we will include in an implementation grant in the coming year. This is another example of the work we've done, and I know it's difficult to see, and I'm not sure how to make this easier, but there's kind of this yellow bike pathway that the County of Monterey Sustainability Program and Ecology Action, which is a local kind of, a sister organization to us, who does a lot of active transportation work. How do we connect the community of Pajaro to, places of interest in the city of Watsonville? So, for example, how do we connect Pajaro to the high school so kids aren't necessarily walking in traffic over the bridge when it's raining, and they're safe from cars? So we're exploring a pedestrian walkway over by Pajaro Park that could also be a bike path. If you're in Pajaro and want to take the bus to, for example, the Target Center at the city of Watsonville, which is, maybe 2.5 miles away, if you don't if you don't catch the bus at the right time, it may take you about an hour and a half, 2 hours to go those 2.5 miles, because you do have to transfer from the county of Monterey to this county of Santa Cruz's metro system. And to the south, there's nothing really to the south of Pajaro. So I think Marina I want to say Marina is probably the next major kind of, or Salinas would be the next major shopping areas to the south. So it's really to the north for a lot of folks here. Oh, and is there a comment in the chat? Housing.
I just had a question, Eloy. To what degree is the ag community supportive or involved in the conversation or going to be a part of the solutions?
I think they will be involved in the conversation. To be honest, I've had a really difficult time kind of approaching them. They are approached constantly. Here in the city of Watsonville. Yeah, I've had a lot of advice on how to approach them, but I just don't. I haven't had the kind of the resources or the connections on the business side on how to connect with them in a way where they will kind of be receptive, or at least kind of open to the conversation. What we've been waiting for the past year and a half are the implementation guidelines. So we'll know more, and they actually dropped 2 weeks ago. I haven't had the chance to go through them in detail, but once we go through them and once they're finalized, we can see where we can connect with the ag industry, where we can connect around maybe resource centers, around housing, around active transportation, around to get to farm work, around shared transportation. There might be like shared car mobility programs that we could fund through an implementation award. So I think that's where we see the opening to talk with them.
Thanks.
Yeah. But if you have any advice on how to connect with the ag industry, let me know.
Nathan might,
Yeah.
our next speaker.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, this is a little old, but now that the new implementation award guidelines are out, but what what we are working towards with this planning grant is to develop a set of recommendations that we can include in an implementation grant in this coming year. So we can apply for up to $30 million. There are some requirements. It's not just $30 million. We have to come up with some matching funds, but we can really look at how to look at what are the community is interested in, and what the cities are interested in, and create a package to fund some of these projects. So to fund some of the needs that both community, the cities, what the cities are doing, and potentially what industry is doing, and provide some housing, provide some infrastructure work for the community, provide access to green space, provide access to community gardens. All of that has been funded through this program and other places, and that's kind of what we want. That is what we want to do, is provide the same resources to community here in the Pajaro Valley. So yeah, any questions about any of that? Again, this is going to be a huge project. The applications are due about a year from now, and then we would know probably about another 6 months after that whether we were awarded or not. But we have a planning grant, and that's a good first step for all of this work.
Definitely. Other folks have questions for Eloy.
Okay, so I'm going to go quickly because I think I'm coming up on my time. So some of the other work, again, partnerships. Monterey Bay Area Climate Justice Collaborative. It's led through our agency. It's a um, it's a group of agencies. So for example, County of Monterey, City of Santa Cruz, list is right there. Community Action Board, Ecology Action, Mujeres en Acción, a lot of community-based organizations coming together to really center climate justice issues that are affecting underinvested communities in the region. And when I say region, that is County of Monterey, County of Santa Cruz, and County of San Benito. So what we're really looking to do is build relationships between the jurisdictions and the public agencies to work together to have strong relationships. So when funding opportunities come up, where jurisdictions need to have relationships with underinvested groups in underinvested communities, that those relationships are already existing, and we can be really successful, because what is happening here is that the Central Coast, especially the northern Central Coast, what we're doing when that is competing against the city of Los Angeles, city of San Diego, the Bay Area. And so we have to, and what's happened over the past is we've received less than our average share of greenhouse gas reduction funds, those cap and trade funds. The Central Coast has generally received less because of that competition with the larger population areas in the state. So building these relationships can make it so we are more we can be more successful, or at least more competitive in our applications for funding. And you can see that partnership was successful in that $75 million NOAA grant that the County of Monterey and the County of Santa Cruz received for climate resiliency work. We do have a small part of that grant that we're working on. It's on the community engagement side. It's around building an advisory group to help from these underinvested areas, from these communities of color, that will help advise, basically give input when projects are selected for that $75 million grant, and that's ongoing. So that work started last year. Let's see. Our photo voice project, Lisa's a little familiar with. Over the summer, we had 12 high school students from the Pajaro Valley take place in 5 summer workshops. They were given introductions to topics such as climate justice, environmental justice, air quality issues, and each week we gave them a prompt, and prompt could be something like, take a picture of in your community where it's challenging to navigate. Take a picture of your community where you feel like really loved, or really feel positive about your community. Take a picture of your community of a place that looked one way before and now looks another. We use those photos on a weekly basis that the students took to launch conversations around their community, to again talk about the ideas about environmental justice, about infrastructure, around the role of the jurisdictions, about the role of a community member, of a youth in advocacy work around what they want to see in their communities. The students presented their photos along with a narrative. They're currently installed at Somos. It's at 112 East Beach Street in Watsonville, and it's installed there until December 19th. If you'd like to take a look and are in the area, it's open in the afternoons from 3 to 5. It's also, the photos are on the website the website link is right there. selection of the photos here. So, it's really trying to highlight community youth voice because we know that they will be the future leaders, giving them space to kind of form their lens, form their opinions around what their community is, examining both the challenges in their community and the highlights, of their community. And again, this is a little hard. I know this is a little hard to read, but if you go on our website, which is the regenerationpajarovalley.org, it's one of the links at the top of the project. So this is another way, that we're looking at resiliency and sustainability, and also thinking about how to create climate leaders for the future, how to create community leaders, how to help them develop. And I know last year we had 2 high school students who did a really great job, and we're hoping this new group, as we present these photos in different spaces, not just in Watsonville, but in Santa Cruz and in Monterey County, and hopefully maybe at the Natural History Museum, if Lisa lets us, we can create some spaces for these kids to really become leaders and be able to really represent their community in a thoughtful way. A couple short films that you might want to take a look at, and again, I can share the link to this project when I'm done, to the slideshow when I'm done here. 13 Kilometers, again, it's a fictional film about a boy in Wattsville trying to reach the local beach. And Too Little Too Late, short film about documenting the one family's return to their home after the levee breach. And it's really heartbreaking, but really, I think, grounds the issues and grounds the kind of human impact of the levee breach. And again, I'll put the link to the slideshow if you want to look at any of this again. And I think that's it for right now. I think I'm over time, but
Just fine, Eloy. That's awesome. Thank you for presenting all of that, all the work that you're doing. I do want to give people a minute to ask any questions you have about this work. I have a quick question, Eloy. Are those high school kids, is anyone having them work with younger students or do any kind of curriculum or any work in the schools? Like, I think what you just said about how their photos kind of inspire stories, that would be great if that happened. I was just curious if they are doing that.
no, we just haven't got there yet.
Yeah.
We've done this. This is the second time doing it, and to be honest, from the outreach process to the selection process to the formation of the programming to this gallery that we put on, it's just so much work. So
Yeah.
that's kind of our next step is really
Yeah.
thinking through what the goals of the project are and thinking where we can, where we should be putting the most resources. My idea right now is probably to reduce the amount of participants from 12 to maybe like 5 or 6 in order to make it just a little bit more feasible for all of us. Wrangling 12 high school students, as you may know, is a little difficult.
Yeah. I've been there. That's awesome, though. What an amazing experience for them.
Yeah, yeah.
Other folks have questions for Eloy. All right.
All right.
You're a star. Thank you so much once again for presenting all of the work that you're doing and updating us on where you're at and where you're headed. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. And again, I'm going to put the link, I'll put my email address in the chat. I'll put the link to the slideshow in the chat. Feel free to reach out. And if you have any questions anytime later. But thank you.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks.
We have 2 other amazing speakers with us. And again, like I said, they have the common thread here being that they are building environmental sustainability, but also community sustainability. And Nathan Hackelroad is from Alba in Salinas. And every time I try to say what ALBA stands for, I kind of get messed up. So I'm going to let you do that. But also having a big impact on the community. So Nathan, go ahead and take it away.
All right, great. Well, thanks for the opportunity to be here and present to you all this evening. I'm going to put my slideshow up, so just give me 1 second. Okay. Okay, can everyone see my screen okay? Awesome. Okay. Well, again, I'm Nathan Harkleroad. I'm the program director at ALBA, which stands for the Agriculture and Land-Based Training Association. And I know why you get thrown off, Lisa, because the T is silent.
That's
But
it.
there's a reason for that.
I always
Because
want to get that T in there.
yes, you have to have good acronyms in this business. And ALBA is actually a Spanish word that means dawn, which is really fitting because we're a place of new opportunities for folks. So, really briefly about me, I've been at Alba for over 15 years. And I'm still with Alba because it truly is an inspiring place, hardworking people that, have this passion to do something on the land, and get ahead. And they come to us with a fever, and I get to see them, learn all kinds of new skills and, sometimes successfully launch businesses and farm for many years following. So, still fires me up. I'm an agronomist by training. Okay, so a little bit about Alba. We are a nonprofit located about 8 miles south of Salinas, right in the heart of the Salinas Valley. In fact, our 100-acre training facility is on probably the most prized farmland in all of the county. Wonderful class one fertile soil, and you all are well aware of the climate that allows us to grow cool season vegetable crops and strawberries and flowers too, all year long, basically. So the land itself, I can't say enough. It's flat. A judge that was sympathetic to the plight of farm workers in the 70s, Judge Barden actually sold the organization to one of our predecessor organizations at a reasonable price and with the idea that it would be used for such purposes. So since the 70s, there's been some efforts on this piece of land to help farm workers. So those are folks that are working for, other people, often doing, farm labor such as harvesting or weeding, or, tractor driving, set up irrigation systems. The idea that these folks that are working hard for somebody else can go on and do their own thing. So in the 70s, it was focused on strawberry production cooperatives, and that lasted for a little shy of a decade. And then it kind of morphed into the program structure that we have now, in the 90s. But Alba was actually, incorporated in 2001. So we have coming up on 25 years as an organization, carry on this legacy of helping farm workers. And these days, our program, we really only have one core program. And again, good acronyms, Farmer Education Enterprise Development, or FEED. 5 years, and it has two different components. One is our farmer education course, which is the entry point. Then after that, folks can graduate and lease land for another 4 years in what we call our organic farm incubator. And it's a lovely place. I mean, we have the benefit of the farmers being around us, our offices and classroom and mechanic shop, and we have a cooler, although we're not using it on site. It's very nicely integrated and convenient for the purposes of what we're doing. And it's nice to wholly own the land. So anyhow, I'm going to move on and talk a little bit about the different components of our program. Uh, Again, the first part is called our farmer education course, or in Spanish, it takes a little different tack and we call it Programa Educativo para Agricultores. PEPA is also another word for seed in Spanish, not semilla, but another word for seed, which is great because we're growing, the next crop of farmers. So every year we enroll in the range of 25 to 30 students in quotation marks into PEPA. Um, Those are mostly adults. About 75% or so will be farm workers. And those farm workers may have been doing any number of farm jobs. Maybe they've been strawberry harvesters or irrigators or tractor drivers. Some have been foremen or supervisors. Most of the folks coming in are farm workers and immigrants, typically from Mexico, where they usually farmed in Mexico before they came here to the US and then have been learning on the job, so to speak, in California agriculture. The other stream of participants that we have is Hartnell College students. So um, the whole first year part of the program is accredited by Hartnell College. And as a result, we're getting farm workers into the community college system. Sometimes that leads to them going off and doing more studies, getting a certificate or degree along the way. And we get Hartnell College students coming to us as a place to get their hands dirty. I love Hartnell. I'm an instructor there with great ag programs, but they don't have a farm, and we do at Alba. So it's really fun to see these two different groups work together and learn together. You know, as you might expect, most of the I mean, most of the students, college students at Hartnell College are doing ag are actually the kids of farm workers. So it's kind of this neat, multi-generation type of thing that we have going on. And the students themselves are teachers in the class because they bring in a wealth of experience from their farming in Mexico and then what they've learned on the job in California. So that's how I always look at it is that folks that come in, we encourage them to share what they know and what they're good at and take the time to invest where they need to gain some skills to be able to launch a farm or, if that's not going to work out or if that's not their goal, maybe get a better job in the ag industry. So anyhow, it's not just production. That's the thing that everyone's excited about is getting those seeds in the ground, plants in the ground. But we train on business, marketing. Um, we have a whole ramp up to launching a farm where folks have to develop a crop plan and a business plan and present it to a panel of experts. Maybe someday one of you all here would be interested in being part of that panel if you have some expertise in any of those areas. So of 25 of our initial cohort, we'll say about 20 graduate and move on to phase 2, which is our organic farm incubator. Actually, let me back up. I should also say as part of this class, we're always farming. We actually have a 1 acre plot that we farm as a group to give people the whole experience. And we have many, many wonderful guest speakers come in to give presentations too, including someone special that's going to be presenting after me, Laura Murphy, the RCD, many other organizations and farmers that contribute to what we do. So, okay, 20 graduate. And then of those 20, we take 10 to 12 onto the land in phase 2, which we call our organic farm incubator. And the idea of the incubator is to reduce the risk, reduce the cost, provide a supportive environment for people to get started. So in any given year, we have 35 or more farmers on the land, and they can stay for up to 4 years. And they start really small in a half acre in year 1. By year 4, they can be on up to 4 or 5 or even 6 acres sometimes. But then it's time to spread their wings and leave the nest and fly and hopefully continue to farm. So the hallmark of what we do is really the free coaching. So we provide training on production, learning how to use the equipment, compliance, which is huge, food safety, organic certification. Those two are beasts. And then what we don't do ourselves, we outsource to a whole range of partners that include, well, some of the folks you see here, and the RCD should be on here too, but we work with FarmLink on access to financing, kitchen table advisors with one-on-one business coaching, the RCD with nutrient irrigation management, education, and technical assistance. Then we have computers and ag leadership, financial capability partners as well. So it takes a community, a village to raise the next generation of organic farmers, that's for sure. And we're always refining and figuring out what we can do to better round out our program. The reality is that to be a small farm, you have to learn a little bit about everything, or at least know who you can call upon that is going to treat you fairly and help you get what you need to do done. So, 35 farmers. By the way, each year that they're in the program, we subsidize the land, but the subsidies go down, and we have all these other goals that they have to achieve to be able to leave, to be able to continue and move towards independence. But at the end of 4 years, if we started with 10 to 12, we're hoping that at least half or more stuck with it, and we've been hitting that number for quite a while. Um, and yeah, so usually 5 to 7 are leaving, continue to farm. And when they leave, they usually go from 5 acres and scale up to that, we'll say on average 15 acres or so. And they almost always farm organically. Those that don't farm certified organically are usually farming with organic farming practices at least. And they'll grow a range of vegetable crops, typically for wholesale markets. But there's been increasing interest in selling to schools. And we do always have some farmers that are doing farmers markets um, here locally and up in the Bay Area. And so I'm going to move into some information from our impact study that was done back in, well, complete in 2022. But to put it in perspective, since 2001, we've launched over 300 farms. Okay. We've trained over 700 people. And right now in our region of folks that have completely left Alba, our land, that is, we have about 80 alumni that are actively farming. And here's your cocktail trivia for the night, which is our 80 farms represent about 35% of all the organic farmers um, in the region. So pretty significant. If you look at, according to our organic certifier, if you look at the Spanish-speaking farmers that are organically certified across the state, it's like 80% come out of Alba. So, we're having an impact, not always in huge acreages, but certainly a number of operations. And we do tip the scales in the ag census every 4 years. Okay, so moving along here, I'm going to share a little bit about an impact study that we did through 2021. The study was complete in 2022. During that period of time, we got in touch with about half of our graduates. And what we found of those half, about 121 launched a farm. So, more than half are launching a farm basically, which is quite impressive when you consider how hard farming is, small business success rates in general. So these are numbers that we feel pretty proud of. And those that didn't, end up farming, well, usually they went back into the ag workforce. And so here's just some graphs that kind of show a little bit about the group of folks that we're working with. Again, the vast majority of our participants are Mexican immigrants, but we also have US-born Latinos, and our doors are open to everyone. In fact, every year you know, uh, we have a range of people that come from our more we call them non-traditional backgrounds, but sometimes we'll have people that already own land that want to learn how to turn into an organic farm. And it's fun. It's very multicultural. And a lot of the folks that are coming to our program these days actually speak Spanish as their second language. They're coming from, indigenous populations in Mexico. So we have folks that speak Triqui and Zapoteco and Mixteco. So what else? Well, I'm going to skip that bottom graph actually. So this is kind of pre and post Alva of those folks that we got in touch with as part of our impact study. And sorry, this is US farms versus Alba farms, overall sales. So something interesting is that, most farms in the US are making less than $20,000 a year. That's because, some of them are tax havens and so forth. Not many farms are really in that 20 to 250K range, but that's kind of where the majority of Alba farms sit. So sort of that middle zone, mid-size farm. And we even have some that are selling over $250,000 per year. That's not net, that's gross. Here's the before and after. Okay, so The brown bar is before Alba, green is after. So this line in the middle is sort of that 40K range. And you can see all those incomes below 40K, they started out higher before Alba, but then they dropped after Alba, suggesting that their income went up, right? And that's what we want to see. And then on the other side, you can see that those incomes over 40K before Alba and after Alba went up. So in other words, people are improving their incomes, and that's the goal. If you boil down what we're trying to do, we're trying to take this land base and use it so people can get some economic upward mobility. There's a lot of social benefits, for farmers too. They have a lot of pride in just being their own boss, and they might even work more hours being their own boss. Well, I know they do. Um, but it's being able to call the shots. I think that means a lot to them and the lifestyle that that offers, and be able to be involved in the farming operation with their spouse and their kids. And then below, we just see some more information on, Alba improving people's career opportunities and before and after Alba in terms of their career. And, most people are saying yes or somewhat in terms of improving their career opportunities. And most are saying much better or better. So those are all positives. And just to kind of put it in perspective, as I kind of build the case here as to why what we're doing is so important, you know, we had a lot more people involved in farming back, in the early 1900s. That's steadily declined as, more people moved off the land and into cities, into industrial jobs. And as such, people's income from farming has gone down. Um, Now, of those people that are farming as well, their percentage that is coming from the farm of their household income has also been going down. So not that many people are like making their income off of the farm these days. Whereas if you go back to the earlier one, if we look at this bar graph right here, we can see, we have a lot of most of the folks that are farming alba are making their household income from the farm. Okay, so why is alba's work so important? It's so important because we have an aging farmer population. Believe it or not, the average farmer in this country is in his or her 60s. The number of farms is going down. Uh, Medium sales for American farms is, believe it or not, less than $25,000 per year. Those aren't livelihood farms. So we got to really think about what we want our food system to look like and who's going to do the farming, okay? Despite all the interest in food, people are not lining up to be farmers. Organic farming's balloon. It's grown so much, like gangbusters over the last few decades. People are more interested in buying from local farmers, but people aren't interested in being farmers. Most of our domestic experiments in trying to recruit labor from within the U.S. to do the farming have not gone so well. Um, Now the folks that are coming to Alba, they love being on the land. They were farmers in Mexico. I did an internship for a few months up at a large organic farm up north of Santa Cruz. Uh, I was out there with folks working 60 hours a week, and on their seventh day of the week, they were trying to find more work. Um, but yet they enjoyed being out there on the farm, the harvesting, the weeding. They had great banter, and they had dreams. They had dreams to get ahead, do something for themselves. I don't know why they kind of looked at me as like a career counselor and asked me whether they should learn English or, get their GED, or if I knew someone that could offer them work on Sunday. I was struck by how hard they were willing to work, how much sacrifice it takes to get here. These are folks that just want a chance to do something on their own, and we have it. We have a need. We need more farmers. Um, And so the folks that are coming to Alba are great, great candidates for that. And it's a youthful population overall when you look at Latinos in the whole across California. So anyhow, keep Alba in mind. How do you get involved with Alba? Well, we have a website, we have social media. Sorry, those aren't on this slide, but you're welcome to go on our website and look at our impact report. And every year we usually have a family farm day. Typically it's in October, though we skipped October of this year, so we probably will have one in March or April, and I'll be sure to get an invite to that to Lise so she can share it with you all. It really is a wonderful place. And yeah, thank you for listening to me and be curious to see if anyone has any questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Nathan. Cool work going on in our community. What questions do you all have for Nathan?
I have a question. Um, uh, when the farmers are part of the program, I guess that they are not working. So do you have any kind of a scholarship, or how can you help them to achieve their course while they need money to live? It's
Wow, great question, Maria. Let me tell you how serious folks are about doing our program. This is a self-selected group, it's not like no one's forced to come to
Mhm.
Alba. So, the first year course where they're learning to farm before they farm, it's about 300 hours plus homework. So
Mhm.
in total, it's about 500 hours, which is like a quarter time job. They're working, we set it up so we meet on Wednesday evenings and Saturday afternoons. So there's no giving up a job then. And then when they launch a farm on a half acre, that's just kind of like a trial year. Get the hang of it, see if it's right, test the waters. So they're still working 40 to 60 hours a week. Then they're coming after work to put in the time to get their farm going. They're coming on the weekends, on Sundays with their families. And honestly, that's what makes it work because they're willing to put in so much sweat equity and they often have family that can help support them during that period of time. And then, by years 2 or 3, um, oftentimes they'll give up a job and focus full time on their farming. That's about when they can, make enough money to justify that move. But it's a big move.
Yeah.
Giving up something that's more steady for something that's risky. Um, but they're willing to take the chance. So scholarships, we don't offer scholarships ourselves. Um, Honestly, and I should say this too, like when people launch a farm, Alba, they have to have about $7,000 saved up by the time they've paid the rent and, got all their fertilizers and irrigation supplies and this and that thing, shovels and hula hose and insurance.
Mhm.
So it's not for someone that has zero resources. Like you have to be able to have a game plan and some savings. But there's some organizations that we work with that are wonderful that do provide some scholarships that folks get. CCOF, our organic certifier, they usually help a few of our farmers get scholarships each year. There's several others that are out there, more specific to people that are actually farming, not just preparing to farm. So
Okay.
yeah, good question.
Thank you.
Nathan, how many of your graduates or students in the program end up teaching in the program also?
Oh, well, it's almost everybody to some extent. Um, because everyone comes in with something valuable, some life experience or work experience. Um, it's not always like formal, and that everyone's going up and giving a PowerPoint about a topic, but we spend a lot of time out in our practice field, like doing the actual farming part as part of the first year experience. So we're just side by side, just talking about weeds and tractors and um, sharing ideas. So a lot of that kind of stuff happens out there.
Mhm.
But then we do call on people that have, a specific experience. Um, And then if they go on the farm, sometimes they mentor, provide, advice to more beginning farmers. So yeah, everyone's a teacher to some extent.
Excellent. Sounds like California Naturalist.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
I have a question. I'm curious, how many of the folks who come into the program are already committed to organic farming and how many become committed through the process? And what have you found to be the most effective way to get people to really embrace that?
Yeah, it's kind of unique because the folks that are coming are self-selecting and they already know what we do. So I wish I could show you the picture right now, but I take this picture every day, every year on the first day of class. So imagine you got all these fresh faces in there, 30 faces, and like, okay, well, you know, some background information. Like, raise your hand if you're here to start an organic farm, and every hand goes up. I mean, that's why they're there. So yeah, people are interested in the organic aspect. Some people have had pesticide exposure incidents. Not everyone's saying that they have, but that does happen sometimes. It's inherently a better situation for family style farming, right? If you want to have your younger kids involved in the operation more. And yeah, people are always like citing they want to do the right thing for the environment and eat healthier. So yeah, it's really nice to see. And it's changed. I mean, when I started Alba over 15 years ago, only 5% of Monterey County agriculture was organic, and now it's 25%. So, every large company has an organic division too. So a lot of our participants have worked in organics already.
What's the mix of crops?
Yeah, great question. Our number one crop in the last 2 years has been broccolini, believe it or not, um, followed by
What was that?
kale.
Oh,
Broccolini, yeah, not even
oh,
broccoli, but broccolini. Usually we grow the crops before they get cool. So like I always joke, we were growing kale before it was cool because we were growing kale like 15 years ago. But anyhow, broccolini, celery, kale, strawberries, lettuces are some of the more common ones. And then the farmers that do farmers markets, they might have like 20 different crops. Green beans are big too. But yeah, any given time you go out there, there could be 30 different things being grown.
Do
It's real
they
beautiful.
broccolini is going to be the next greatest thing, huh?
It's really blown up. Yeah, I mean it's gained a lot of popularity. I mean, my kids love it. I eat it almost every week. It's so delicious. So easy to cook.
Awesome. Okay, any last questions for Nathan? Thank you so much for being here with us and for all the great work that you're doing for the community and for the environment. And that's what this is all about.
Yeah, what a pleasure. Yeah, thank you for having me. Hi, Laura.
All right, what I want to do next is I want to give everyone a 5-minute break, and then Laura's going to come in and kind of round us out with another great project that is about community and sustainability both. So let's take 5 and come back at 7:10. Does that work? All right, excellent. And Laura, I won't cut you short. You still get your whole 25 minutes.
Thanks, Lisa.
You're awesome. Okay, time flies, but hopefully people are heading back. We'll give people just a minute. So three pretty different organizations with very different missions, but having similar impacts in that all three organizations have a definite impact on the environmental conservation, but also an impact on the communities in which each of the programs live. So Laura Murphy wears two hats. She works for the Resource Conservation District and does some amazing environmental work through the Resource Conservation District. But the hat I always ask her to wear for this class is the FOSPA hat. And unlike ALBA, who leaves letters out of their acronym, FOSPA actually gets every single letter in the acronym. The Friends of Seaside Parks Association. Is that right? I got it. Okay.
That's
So
correct.
I gave everyone a webinar to look at that's on urban ecology. And so Laura can talk about this is urban ecology in action. These are city parks and will change the way that you look at the value of a city park after you hear Laura talk about them. Anyway, go ahead and take it away. Do you want us to hold questions or do you want us to throw questions at you as you're speaking?
Yeah, I'm perfectly happy with free-form conversational style. I understand that it can be very difficult to manage a whole lot of talking in Zoom without visuals, but I don't have a slideshow for you.
No
I can
worries.
use a website with lots of beautiful pictures on it as a way to frame our discussion. But absolutely invite questions. Please interject. I may not be looking at the screen, but raise a hand and or jump right in if you've got something to share or a question to ask as we go. So thank you, Lisa. I appreciate the invitation. And as mentioned, I actually wear one hat most all the time. It's a great big one that shades everything because I try to be outside as much as possible and protecting myself from the sun that I love to be in. That has to do with my work at the Resource Conservation District, which ultimately brings me to FOSPA. And so before that, I would be absolutely remiss if I didn't give you at least a little bit of an introduction to my professional role at the RCD. I am a soil scientist. Who has heard of a resource conservation district? Okay, I don't see a whole lot of hands going up, so this part's very important. A resource conservation district is a special district, very, very special. Essential to know about. Historically, RCDs operate, they are governed by a board of directors, which are land managers, historically landowners. There's some work towards changing that. So that land managers and natural resource users are representing their own local communities in the context of the Resource Conservation District, and then they vary dramatically. There is no absolute set standard for what an RCD might look like. It may only be a board of directors. They may have an executive director or very minimal staff. They may have rather extensive staffing and programs. There is the possibility of a county tax base to fund an RCD, but not necessarily. So in Monterey County, the RCD has no tax base. We are effectively a nonprofit, except we are a special district. And so we receive all of our funding through grants and contracts. And we're very, very embedded within our local community and focused on the natural resource management concerns that we have in our area. So the things that we focus on here might be somewhat different from what's happening in the Central Valley or the northern part of the state or in other states. So RCDs typically have county boundaries, but not necessarily. Sometimes it's a watershed that delineates an RCD or some other natural or possibly political feature. But very much so we're focused on local natural resource management issues. And so historically, the RCD of Monterey County has been an agricultural focus, as well as a natural landscape in the context of the Salinas River. And so we have a huge program focused on invasive species control, arundo removal in the Salinas River, and also natural habitat restoration in more of a restoration ecology type of focus in those natural landscapes. And then on my team, which is the agroecology team, we have a significant focus with on-farm technical assistance, working with farmers who manage natural resources in and throughout Monterey County. And so we do work extensively with Alba and the farmers that start their businesses there, and then follow our relationships with them as they move out and away from that incubator into other spaces in Monterey County, as well as up into San Benito County and into Santa Cruz County, where there are also partner RCDs, but we work together closely to make sure that all those growers are getting access to the resources that they need to be able to have thriving farm businesses from what we're able to offer. So a lot of agronomic guidance and a lot of technical guidance to farmers. But this is also something that we've been able to expand and begin to offer in urban spaces. And so that's where FOSPA starts to come in. As we entered around about the beginning of the pandemic, I, in my own home community of Seaside, was involved with a number of nonprofit organizations, grassroots, community volunteer-based organizations, and Friends of Seaside Parks Association was one of those. And I began to recognize ways in which what I did professionally related to what my personal interests were and what this community of volunteers in Seaside was interested in doing in their parks. There would be sporadic events of park beautification, where neighbors would come together and maybe plant a few plants, try to improve their neighborhood park, have a get together, do some beautification, and then oftentimes there was no follow-up or accountability necessarily. The city did not really have resources to dedicate to maintain these spaces very well. And so some of these things would manage to make it or limp along, or some even survived and established. But oftentimes these types of planting projects, I would watch them fail gradually over time in our parks. And I recognize that particularly as we were getting to, end of year one of the pandemic, a lot of people were eager to be able to come together again and be outdoors in a safe space and active. And there was this incredible opportunity to begin convening regularly and focusing on providing habitat, providing pollinator habitat was the key focus that people were particularly excited about. There was a lot of news about monarch butterfly declines and about bee population declines, and people were concerned about these things, wanted to do something, also wanted to improve their parks. And so there was just momentum in many ways. So Friends of Seaside Parks Association decided to launch a weekly park volunteer workday. And we were able collectively at the time, with some help from the Environmental Commission, with help from the City of Seaside, their Public Works Department, and also with help from Communities for a Sustainable Monterey County, which is another volunteer-based nonprofit organization working in Seaside through their working group Sustainable Seaside, along with others and independent volunteers and community members. This idea got started and gained momentum. And so now it's several years strong. And the key focus of these every Saturday morning work days is that Friends of Seaside Parks Association hosts people to come together. The City of Seaside provides tools, brings us a trailer every week, brings us water for parks that do not have access to water. Some have had their lines completely shut off. And FOSPA will purchase plants, other items that might be necessary like compost, coordinate mulch deliveries, and essentially this is all volunteer done. So from 10 to 12 every Saturday, it's pretty extraordinary what's happening. I'm going to go ahead and share screen just to show you. I know that you were shared the website for FOSPA, and I hope that you had a chance to look at it. But if you didn't, you will right now, if I can find it. So this is my RCD website. Sorry, let me navigate. Here we go. Friends of Seaside Parks Association website has tons of beautiful pictures that scroll through. And this kind of helps give just a frame of reference about what it is, what's happening. But all the important information is here in terms of there's a calendar of where we'll be every week maintaining habitat gardens. And then you can also learn about some initiatives that include food producing community gardens, which are happening in multiple of these parks. And so this concept of agroecology and tying this pollinator habitat, this native plant habitat into our food producing systems and our agricultural systems and how these things are connected is something that we're really able to capitalize on. And we bring others into these spaces to really focus on that. So we're able to host students of all ages. Some of the volunteers that participate actively in FOSPA are former teachers and still have connections with local schools, and they will bring students in for service learning opportunities or other ways to interact. I've been able to interact with this both as a volunteer, community member, interested and associated with FOSPA, but also wearing my professional hat at the RCD and connect with the Monterey County Works Green Cadre program, which is a workforce development program for young adults in Monterey County. And so they're a part of this comprehensive program, but we're able to provide work sites and again, education, guidance, connections to concepts related to food security and natural resource management. And we do all of that lesson while working in parks, and that brings more capacity to Seaside, to FOSPA, to beautify and improve their habitats, as well as in general keep their parks in good condition and keep their community gardens thriving as what I would call kind of anarchist spaces. Most of the Seaside community gardens are not overly structured, don't require a subscription or participation fees, don't have a whole lot of rules, but are generally available to anyone and everyone in the community who wants to make use of them, wants to participate. It's all community orchestrated with some site stewards who are FOSPA board members or FOSPA affiliated, who essentially step forward to participate in this community, participate in communication with the City of Seaside, who of course is the landowner of these parks, to maintain a basic sense of accountability around maintaining those spaces and how they will be. What do I want to tell you more? I'm going to stop sharing screen so I can see your faces again. So I feel disoriented. And see, does anybody have any questions right now?
Laura, I just want to add to what you said. So I'm a proud resident of Seaside, and I joined the Environmental Commission a year ago. And part of that was because I met Laura in either the Climate Stewards training or the Cal Naturalist training or the Monterey Regional Monarch Association. I'm not sure which place it was. But I was really excited about the opportunity to give back. And I've been throughout my life someone who's done advocacy as well as direct action as well as organizing of all sorts. And one of the things I wanted to say is that when you're a naturalist, often we come in as docents or we're focused on being docents, trail guides, that kind of thing. But there are so many other ways to use what we're learning and to connect people with the natural world and to take action around the climate and ocean change. And what Laura's talking about is such a great example of that because it's local, it's meaningful, it's impacting the climate, it's engaging the community. And city governments, a big part of what people in cities want is clean neighborhoods and clean sidewalks and attractive parks. And, you know, they want their kids to have a safe, clean place to play. And that's a really great hook to get people engaged and start having conversations about, for example, climate change, like we talked about in the class. Was it last week when we did the Noki training? I think so. So it's a great way to do that. And I just wanted to offer that as additional comment about this project. It's also, I happen to live in the neighborhood where 3 of these pocket parks are. And over the past 5 years, I probably am in them most days because I walk my dogs in the neighborhood. And it's been fabulous to watch how each of the parks has changed. 2 of them have community gardens. One, the community gardens just started expanding. And it's just exciting to see what happens when people get together and start transforming the landscape literally and making it pollinator friendly, people friendly, good for the climate, and makes, I think, a lot of people feel really excited. And the signs are always up about monarch habitat and pesticide free and join the work days. So I wanted to plug in that. I'm not a volunteer with FOSPA, but it's one of those projects I always tell people about.
Thanks, Kat. That's awesome. We
Thank
first
you so much for adding that. Go ahead.
we first talked to Laura and had our California Naturalist class in one of the parks. We did a field day out there, and it was during COVID, and it was really, or I guess during COVID or right after COVID, whatever, but it was really it really made you think that about access to green space, access to open space, you know, during that time when everybody was kind of cooped up, you know, and what an absolute luxury it is to have access to green space and open space, and how these little pocket parks provide that for the community, and at the same time are providing wildlife corridors for insects and things like that. So it really struck me the importance of having green space in these communities. One of the questions I have for you, Laura, is we saw a picture last week of West Oakland and East Oakland. So the part of Oakland that is like all cement and the part of Oakland that has lots and lots of trees. And I was thinking about the difference between affluent communities and less invested, or communities where there's been less investment, as Eloy puts it. And trees is a really big part of that. And sometimes it's not just trees in the parks, but trees in people's yards, or trees along streets and things like that. And I'm just wondering, to what degree could FOSPA, or I don't know, some neighborhood organization kind of work towards bringing more trees to Seaside?
So definitely through this project and through this process, FOSPA does bring more trees to Seaside, although it seems like it's a very uphill battle because we're losing large trees at a pace faster than they can grow. But FOSPA's planting a substantial number of trees throughout these public spaces in Seaside. There's been interest among the community members of FOSPA to encourage more planting of trees in home gardens as well, particularly as we see many large trees come down. But the city of Seaside, through FOSPA's suggestion, direction, and then also from other community input and some of the city commissions, has sponsored for 2 years now a free tree program so that people can receive a free tree, either a native or a fruit-bearing tree to plant at their own home, and they receive guidance, training, education around how to plant that correctly, how to maintain that tree. And so that is happening. It's definitely happening.
It's also part of the city's recently adopted climate plan is to increase the canopy, and it's been a goal for the city to increase the percentage of the city's to tree canopy. Because if you've ever walked through Seaside, you know there aren't that many trees, and if you go further down the peninsula, you see the difference and what you're talking about. And it's also interesting, if you guys are interested in all this kind of data, if you start looking at income and house value and age in Pebble Beach and Carmel and Pacific Grove and Seaside and Marina, there's the population gets younger and younger, the housing cost gets lower and lower. The age of the population is a big issue. There's lots of kids. There's more kids in Marina and Seaside than there are in some of the other parts of the peninsula. And that's part of why doing this in a park is so important, because I see kids in these parks all the time, people with young families, and the average age is just younger here. So it's really, I mean, it's not any surprise to any of us, but it's really clear the benefit of a program like this in terms of helping people feel better about the place they live and also making it a healthier place. But that's a really big concern for the city. And I know the Neighborhood Improvement Commission is also paying attention to this and wanting to promote tree planting and tree canopy in the city.
Yeah.
And I should note, everything I'm saying is as my own self, not as a member of the commission.
Hey,
Well put,
Katie.
Kat.
Thanks. Katie,
Go ahead,
what's
Katie.
your question?
Yeah. First of all, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I was trying a different way of setting up my computer. Glad it's still working. First of all, Laura, I just want to say, like, what a phenomenal program that is. Before doing this program, I did this sister program of the Climate Stewards, and we actually did a whole series of classes focusing on green spaces and how important it is to have those, not only for kind of reducing the effects of climate change, but also just overall, kind of like what Kat was talking about, happiness, well-being, and stuff. My one question is, when we were talking about those things, they talked about how, while yes, the solution is planting more green stuff, not everyone has the time or knowledge to deal with it. And so I love hearing that this program actually educates people besides just like handing them a tree and leaving. I was curious, maybe for households where the individuals maybe aren't as physically capable of maintaining trees, or maybe it is a lot of younger people who are at school and working a lot. Are there any other maybe ways to assist in not just the education, but actual maintaining of that tree and plants as well?
So that's not something right now that or that I think ever actually FOSPA as an organization would facilitate. Again, Sustainable Seaside did host a program through funding they received through an MC Gives campaign called Our Families Grow Healthy, to help people receive materials and then establish raised bed gardens in their homes, or otherwise container gardens. And that might be an organization that would do something like this, provide people in their private homes further guidance and assistance, physical support. There's another nonprofit in Seaside called the Village Project, which I know does offer gardening services essentially at no cost to particularly for elderly and less abled individuals. So there are other people thinking the same type of thing. Something that I would probably love to support through the Resource Conservation District, through the professional channels that I'd be able to, but that hasn't been something we have been successful in getting funding for. So again, we are grant funded. And so we've had a very hard time actually getting sustained ongoing funding, even for our pollinator habitat programs, but we're always trying. But we are able to bring in, so something that's important about the RCD being what it is, being structured as it is, and having full-time professional staff with technical expertise is that we can bring that then into our communities for these kinds of projects, as well as host interns. So whether those are college students, AmeriCorps program members, or otherwise, often these programs require paid staff. And many of these organizations, community-based nonprofits, are volunteer only. They have very minimal budgets and they don't have the capacity to manage an intern. But the RCD can do that. And so if there's funding to be able to pay for an intern or supervision for an intern, for example, then those types of individuals can take on special projects within communities and facilitate, foster that type of thing developing. And it's something I'd love to see continue growing. Thanks for
One
that
of the
question,
other,
Katie.
Katie, one of the other issues with specifically in Seaside is that the majority of people in Seaside are renters and not landowners, and so property owners can put on trees. There's things you have to do, but if you're a renter, you have to get permission to do something like that, and often the answer will be no. And that also applies to things like people who wanted to stop using gas or start electrifying their home. If you're renting a home that's using gas for heat and gas for your water, it's very unlikely that a landlord will agree to pay the expense to make that change. But there are organizations now that are trying to encourage homeowners, regardless of whether they live in those homes or not, to make that transition. But it also is another added burden. It goes to what Eloy was talking about. When you have a community where most people are not owning the home they're living in, it limits some of the things they can do. And so it's really important for groups like you're talking about, Laura, to really pay attention to that, which is part of why public space is a really great place to focus these kind of efforts.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Oh, go ahead.
Cindy, you want to throw your question in?
Yeah. Well, even Kat made a big deal to us on one of our field trips that Seaside is a big sand dune. So how are you managing that, and how does that either limit or restrict or have to modify the things that you do in the parks?
Yes, absolutely. I'm glad that you brought this up because I was hoping to talk about it. And I know we're over time at this point. So very quickly, yes, Seaside is a big sand dune. And if we were establishing, this is how I mentioned earlier, if we were trying to do habitat restoration, it would be a different project. We are not attempting to establish pure dune, as it would have been pre-disturbance, plant communities. We are establishing habitat gardens, and we are focusing on using habitat or species that are native to California with an emphasis on species that are native to the region, but not purely. And so Bruce Delgado in Marina and some of the other folks that have similar types of projects in urban spaces have different opinions about what the goals are or how to achieve them. In the context here, we are focused very much on we're using a lot of agricultural techniques. So we're increasing soil organic matter. We are burying a lot of carbon, and we are building soils that have nutrient cycling capacity and moisture retention. And we're using techniques to encourage moisture retention so that we can keep our irrigation to a minimum, and so that we can build healthy, thriving gardens that might include species which historically would not necessarily have been in these spaces, but which provide pollinator habitat as well as bird habitat, as well as beauty and a sense of abundance and shelter within these public spaces. I hope that answers the question. I probably could go on much longer, but I think I should stop.
You should go visit the space and then you can see how they're doing it. But yeah, that's a really good point. Not everything will grow in Seaside for sure. Any last questions for Laura? They're great spaces. Y'all should get there. Katie, sorry, cut you off.
No, you're good. First of all, I want to say thank you for answering the first question I had. And second of all, Laura, I just wanted to ask really quick, do you do any work with Rancho Cielo in Salinas?
I do, yeah. That's actually so something that grew out of this. What started was incubated between the RCD and FOSPA because of my unique position with both organizations, ultimately has grown for the RCD into a larger, more extensive pollinator habitat program. And we have at Rancho Cielo, the garden that's there, we have supported the expansion of their hedgerow,
Hedgerow.
essentially. It's
I
become
worked
a
on that
more
project with
broad
you.
habitat. Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, that's why you look so familiar. And that was another reason too. I when I was there, I wanted to pick your brain about different projects and why prioritizing different work in different sectors. And so your answer to my previous question really answered that. And then I had to make sure I recognized you from Rancho Cielo. So thank you for that slight tangent. I appreciate it.
Yeah, there's
Indeed.
neat.
Just earlier today, I was in Gonzales at the community garden there where we have a large habitat installation as well.
That's what I was going to say. There are other kind of pollinator habitats being developed down into the valley as well, down farther south. All right, we are going to move on to something else. You are awesome, Laura. Thank you so much for being here once
Thank
again and for all
you.
of your great ideas.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
You're awesome. Well, what I have for you all is, now that you've been inspired by these amazing community organizations, I want to leave you. This is our last like actual class. Next time it'll be you all teaching and giving your thoughts, and we will talk about that at the end of this hour about what next week looks like. But we have about 10 minutes. Do we have 10 minutes? We have 15 minutes. We have about 15 minutes. And what I want to do is I want to give you 5 minutes. I'm going to put you into groups where I want to have you thinking about what are the possibilities. So there's a document. And so I had you do some reading on the UN Sustainable Development Goals, because these are goals around how do we help not just the environment, but our communities at the same time. And so what I've got here is a document where each group will have a page. And depending on how much time you have, you may or may not get through all three of these boxes. But what I was hoping is that you would choose a a person in the community. So that could be somebody who can take action, a teacher, a mother, a doctor, a city council member, a construction worker. Like, it could be just anybody in the community who can take action in some capacity on, and then choose one sustainable development goal for each box, and then think through what's something that's currently happening, or what's something that could be happening, or pie in the sky, what is some amazing, like way out there thing that could someday be happening? Okay. Does that assignment make sense? You're choosing a person, you're choosing a sustainable development goal, and then you can either do the what's happening now, what could be happening, or pie in the sky. Or you can do all three of those if you have time. And you can choose a different sustainable development goal for each if you want to. All right, does that make sense? We have 16. I'm going to do 6 rooms, so you're in groups of 3. How's that sound? And we're going to take about 5 minutes so that we have plenty of time to come back and discuss. All right, ready, steady. Did everybody get that link out of the chat? And you should be able to type in that. So tell you what, the number of your breakout room, add 1 to that, and that's which slide you're going to edit, right? Breakout room 1 is going to edit slide 2. Got it. All right, here you go. Make sure I've got enough. All right. How you doing, Sharon? It looks like you might be stuck. Hey, Kat. Oh, good. Everybody's in there.
Hey
I'm gonna
there.
pause them 5 minutes to present and then a few minutes to answer questions for each group. So I will have to wrap my head around kind of how many we've got, and and the timing, all of that. But it's relatively short. Not everyone in your group needs to present. It could be one person presenting on behalf of the whole group. What we really want is we want to know what did you work on, and what was what impact are you hoping to have with what you've done. So if there's a link to something that you produced, you can share the link with us so that we can see if there's a document or something like that that you made. Particularly if you've made something that you want the museum to use, definitely we will try to do that.
And
Any
if somebody has slides, how should they get them to you and what format?
Yes. Oh, great. Thank you. Yes. If you have slides that you want to present, and I kind of hope every group has at least something that's a visual, please get that to me on Wednesday. I think if you get it to me Wednesday by noon, I'll have it together for the slides for Wednesday evening. All right. That's your deadline. Wednesday noon, you're going to get me a slide.
Do you prefer them in Google Slides or PowerPoint?
I'll take either, but you have to trust me to reformat them if they're
Could we
Google
just
Slides.
share the screen? Could we just do a share the screen like?
No,
Okay.
because we have so many groups that it ends up slowing us down too much. So
Okay.
if you're going to have slides, you got to get them to me. I
Okay,
guess I'd
thanks.
prefer a Google slide if you have a choice, because then I won't reformat it. But if you get me a PowerPoint, I will upload it to Google. All right.
For the trip, field trip, the ones that are docents, are we going to, do you want us to meet you at the entrance at the kiosk? Or
It's my hope that all of us park outside and walk in.
Mhm.
But if you feel strongly that you'd like to drive in, you're welcome to do that. If that's the case, meet us out at Hidden Beach at like 10. But there may be some people who are not docents who also would benefit from a ride in which case I'll try to engineer that with one of the docents.
We
So
can also park at Rat Hill, so we won't take any parking spots from visitors or other
Yeah,
docents.
yeah.
So there's
Okay.
that possibility. It's kind of like right down that Pine Ridge Trail by Piney Woods. So we'll be ending
Yeah.
up there.
So that's an option for the docents to do. The rest of us don't have that
No,
option.
no, we can take you though. I can take 4 people in my car.
Right. So if there are people who want to drive in, I'll arrange that. And it's good to know, Susan, that you're willing to be that driver. So
Well,
if people let
I'm
me
saying
know,
for everybody, all the
Yeah.
docents can do
Yeah,
that.
we
So
all-
that'd be 4 times
we
6.
can all drive.
Yeah,
people.
we can take everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could take everybody in.
we can. It also, I mean, we can hike in too. I
Chris
mean,
has got a huge car.
And the tide is an issue.
yeah, we kind of have that hour. We'll hike in over the either Mound Meadow Trail or the Plateau Trail, and over that hike, we'll see some cool stuff. It's a nice time.
Yeah.
So we'll spend that time. I just wanted to put it out there if there's anyone who's concerned about that much walking. It's probably not more walking than we've done on other field trips, or not a lot more. So
Yeah. And it's not going to be difficult because
it's not a hard walk. That's
Yeah.
true. And there's no atmospheric river this time. The last time we did it in an atmospheric river. So it's going to be good.
I also don't think there's a high tide, but I mean, both Hidden Beach and Weston Beach were closed most of last week, because of tough, big waves.
Big waves.
But I don't think that's in the forecast for Saturday, but just be aware.
Thanks. I hadn't looked at that. Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
I will check that out. I haven't heard back from Tom either. Tom Clifton is our
Oh.
speaker, and I haven't heard.
Oh,
He's kind of hard to get a hold of. I find it hard for him to respond.
Yeah,
But
I'll write to him
yeah,
again.
so yesterday the beach was closed. Just
Mhm.
FYI. It's been
Okay.
it's been closed.
Bigger
They're
waves,
very
bigger waves.
conservative on
yeah.
if it's any sort of a beach hazard day or like even a small craft advisory day, they will close it.
Yeah.
Just FYI.
Yeah, that's
All
what
right. Well, we'll look at Anyway, to keep people longer.
I just have one question, Lisa.
Yeah.
So we're parking out on the highway. Is there, instead of having people gathering and waiting for you on the highway, I would suggest that they come to the pathway and wait like at the kiosk
Exactly.
right
That's the
there.
plan. We're gonna walk
Okay.
in and meet at, there's a new like information sign right there at the kiosk in a
Right.
little area. That's where we're
Mhm.
gonna meet.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, it's not on the highway. Walk all the way in
No.
to where
And
the
and be
ticket.
very careful. The
Yes,
cars
and
are
when you're parking, be
not
very careful.
careful. Yeah.
And being there at 9 o'clock is actually a little on the early side, so it shouldn't be too terrible for getting a parking spot and walking in.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will send more details in an email tomorrow. And thank you all very much. It's been great fun. And I look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
See you Saturday.
see you, bye.
Mhm.